Welcome back. Now let's start our next topic, that is NP completeness. So far we have seen a lot of good news. Okay, we have seen many problems and then we say that okay, this problem can be solved quickly. Okay, we have algorithms of order n, maybe order n log n or order n square or something like that, right? Some small polynomial function of input size. But there is a bad news also. There are few problems that are of form NP complete, that have NP completeness. Okay, and that is sort of a bad news. Why? Because evidences say that there are many important problems that cannot be solved quickly. Okay, and NP complete problems really come up all the time. There are many natural examples, many real time examples, that have this NP completeness. Okay, so basically we are saying that we cannot solve it very quickly. Okay, and formally we will see what is NP completeness anyways. Now the question is, why do we care? Okay, why do we care whether a problem is NP complete or not? So for example, there is some problem and you are like bagging your head to solve that problem. Okay, but it is not solving in efficient. It is not have a efficient algorithm, like the brute force way is kind of taking exponential time. Okay, so it is very important to know that whether your problem lies in NP complete category, because if so, then there are many evidences that will show that there there exists no polynomial time algorithm for for such problems. So either you can use some heuristic and come up with a method to solve it in a reasonable fraction of time or for reasonable fraction of cases, or you can solve the you cannot solve the accurate problem, but you can put some more constraint and solve the approximate version of the problem. Okay, or in the worst case you can go with exponential time solution if you really have to solve that problem exactly. Okay, and stop worrying about finding a better solution. So it is quite important to know that whether the problem lies in that category or not. Okay, now we can see problems into two forms. Okay, so there are some optimization problems that we have covered. Okay, so find a solution with the best value. So for example, we have seen in shortest path, we have shortest path problem where we need to find the path which will take minimum amount of cost. Okay, then we are having something called minimum spanning tree, which will take minimum number of edges or minimum number of weight edges to go to a particular location, right? So all these problem are optimization problem where we are trying to minimize something or maximize something, right? Now all such problems can also be seen from a different point of view, and that is called decision problems. Okay, so given an input we can ask a question regarding the problem and the answer is either yes or no. Okay, and all the optimization problem can be seen as a decision problem, and decision problem is quite easier to study. Okay, so why I am telling you all these things, so why basically I am telling you these two versions. So basically from now on we will not talk about optimization problem, we will actually talk about decision problem, because the output of all those problem is either yes or no. So we have to bring all the problem on kind of a same same type of problem to solve it, right? And obviously optimization problem can be easily converted to decision problem. If decision problem is solved, optimization problem is solved. Okay, so it is a kind of a vice versa case. So let's see how to convert it actually, right? So we have seen shortest path problem. Okay, so we are suppose given an unweighted directed graph, and the optimization problem is find a path between u and v that uses fewest number of edges. Since we are talking about unweighted graph, so we just have to just have to count number of edges, right? So we are saying fewest number of edges. Now, what is the decision version of the same problem? So we can ask a question. Does a path exist from U to V consisting of at most k edges? Okay, so basically we have to find, so the answer is yes or no. Okay, and we will keep on increasing the value of k, right? And then we have the solution. So basically, like if we can solve this decision problem, we can definitely solve the optimization problem. So in this case, we can say, okay, so how many number of nodes are there? So suppose there are n nodes. Okay, so we will start our k with n maybe. Okay, and then actually we will see that whether there exists a path from u to v which have n by 2 nodes. So the answer is either yes or no. Okay, when once we solve the problem, the answer is either yes or no. If the answer is no, if the answer is yes, then definitely for all the, all the upper part, we can ignore. So if we can find the solution in n by 2 edges, definitely we can find it in more edges, right? So that's why we are talking about at most k edges. Okay, and then maybe we can work for n by 4. We will make our k as n by 4, and we were actually we can keep doing it to find the k which is the exact answer. Okay, so maybe in log n time, in this particular case, we can come to the exact answer. So the point here I am making is optimization can be converted into decision problems very easily. And if decision problems are solved, optimization problems are solved. If optimization problem are solved, then their decision version can also be solved. Okay, so from now on we will just talk about the decision problems, right? There is one more thing which I would like to highlight here is there are two types of complexities which are involved. One complexity is attached with the algorithm, and that is called algorithmic complexity. And it is actually the computation cost of that algorithm. Okay. And the other complexity is complexity of the computational problem, complexity of that problem itself or the task. Okay. So the complexity of the algorithm with lowest order of growth of complexity for solving that problem or performing that task. Okay, so for example, if we say we can write algorithm, let's say searching algorithm, we can write a searching algorithm which can take maybe order n. Okay, and we can write the algorithm which will take log n time. For sorting, we can write algorithm which can take, maybe n square or something, maybe more than that. Okay, but we can write algorithms which can take n log n time. Okay, so the complexity associated with the problem is that lower bound. Okay, that is n log n. So we cannot do, if we want to use comparison based sorting, we cannot do better than n log n. Okay, no matter what algorithm you are using, right? So this complexity is attached with the problem. And which algorithm will give us n log n? So we can say that, okay, maybe merge sort will give us this. Okay, so both are different. We are much more concerned in this particular unit, we are much more concerned with problem complexity. Okay, problem itself is so hard, that it is quite difficult to find any algorithm which can solve this problem efficiently. Okay, so we'll talk somewhat in that sense. So computational complexity deal with classifying the problem by how hard they are. Okay, so now we are not talking about algorithm, rather we are talking about the problem itself. Okay, so these are two important things which you have to keep in your mind. First one is we will now onwards work with decision version of the problems. Okay, and all the problems can be converted into decision problem. Second thing is we will now deal with computational complexity of the problem rather than its algorithmic complexity. Okay. Now, based on this, we can categorize the problem into few categories. Okay, so the first category is class P. Class P consists of problems. Okay, so please note it is a decision problems we are talking about, right? So class P consists of problems that are solvable in polynomial time. Okay, if you know the algorithm to solve this problem in polynomial time, right, then we call that as polynomial time algorithm, or that problem basically belongs to, okay, so note here we are now talking about the problem itself. Okay, if you know an algorithm which can solve this problem in polynomial time, we will say okay, this problem lies in class P category or class P set. Okay, so what is polynomial time algorithm now? All the algorithms whose worst case running time is order of n to the power k, where k is some constant, right? So all such algorithms are polynomial time. All the algorithm with this worst case running time are polynomial time algorithms. What are non-polynomial algorithm? Which is like, you know, exponential sort of a thing. Okay, so example of polynomial algorithm are n square, n cube, n to the power 4, and right, n log n. N log n is also of this form, okay, because n log n is less than n square actually, right? What are the examples of non-polynomial time algorithms? So it is of order 2 to the power n, or n to the power n, or n factorial. Okay, so all the algorithm of these type are considered as non-polynomial algorithm, non-polynomial time algorithm. Okay, so now let me just repeat once more. Class P consists of the problem that are solvable. The problem itself is solvable in polynomial time, right? So all such problems are belongs to class P. Okay, now we can also categorize the problem into tractable problems and intractable problems. Okay, so problem in P are tractable problems, means we can solve these problem in polynomial time. Okay, the problem which are not in P, they are either intractable or unsolvable. Okay, intractable means there is no polynomial time, no known polynomial time algorithm for that particular problem. Okay, so it may be solved in reasonable time only for very small inputs, but for large inputs it will blow off, right? So those are intractable problems. And the other category may be unsolvable problem. There are few problems that cannot be solved. Okay, forget about the complexity, we are not able to solve them actually. Okay, so tractable and intractable are a little important here. So are non-polynomial algorithms always worse than polynomial algorithm? So let's see some example. Okay, now technically speaking, this particular is of it is actually a polynomial time complexity, right? Polynomial algorithm, if some algorithm is having this complexity, so we are saying n to the power k, where k is this number. Okay, so this is technically tractable according to our definition. It is tractable, okay, because we are saying it lies in P, and so it is tractable. But this is actually really impossible in practice, right? And you know, generally it is not the case. Never, you will never get you know, this much complexity. There are some algorithms which is having complexity n to the power maybe 10 or 12. Okay, but you know, in few course of time people come up with a better algorithm and can reduce that complexity to maybe n to the power 4 or something like that, right? Now if you see this particular thing, so it is n to the power function of n. Technically speaking, it is intractable as per our definition, but it is quite easy to solve. Even if you take input like 2 to the power 16, this will come across around, you know, n to the power n square actually. Okay, so it is quite easy to do, but yes, as per our definition, this is intractable. Okay, but anyways, these are generally not happen. Okay, these are not this will not happen in real life generally, right? Okay, now let's see some example of unsolvable problem. Okay, so Turing in 1930 discovered that there are this unsolvable category of algorithms. Okay, and the most famous among all those is halting problem. Okay, what is halting problem? So the problem defines like the definition of that problem is like this: given an arbitrary algorithm and its input, will there be any algorithm that will tell you that this algorithm will eventually halt or it will go into infinite loop? Okay, so can you develop a algorithm which will take arbitrary algorithm, which can take any algorithm as an input along with the input of that algorithm, and they will let you know that whether the algorithm which you are taking in input will halt or not? Okay, and there is a proof given in Coleman where Turing, like this is proved by Turing that this problem is unsolvable. Okay, so there are some problems that are unsolvable, so if you are interested you can study more about such problems. Okay, but right now we are much more interested in intractable problem, okay, in this particular unit. Okay, so now see some examples of intractable problem as well. So there is this problem of Hamiltonian path. Okay, so Hamiltonian path says that if a graph is given, we have to find a path that passes through every vertex exactly once. Okay, so this is a kind of a optimization problem. We have to find this optimized path which will go through all the vertex exactly once. Okay, and the Decision version of the same problem is, we can ask that does this graph have a Hamiltonian path? Okay, so if you see that both of this are actually same problem. Okay, if you solve this, if somebody says yes there is a path, then definitely we can solve the path. So decision problem is rather much more easier to solve, okay, or to work with. Similarly, there is traveling salesman problem, which says that there is a salesman who wants to take who wants to travel, say, some country or the entire world maybe. Okay, and now all the cities which he want to travel will become node of the graph and all the roads become edges, and now we have to find the minimum weighted path. Okay, so we can say that, and the condition is each city has to be traversed only once. Okay, so we can say that we have to find minimum weight Hamiltonian path. Okay, and the decision version could be, given a graph and an integer k, is Hamiltonian path with a total weight at most k. Okay, so we can definitely convert. So these problems are intractable problem. There is no known polynomial time algorithm to solve this problem. Okay, now intractable problems can be classified into various categories based on their difficulty level. Okay, so the categories are NP, NP complete and NP hard. Okay, so now let's go deeper into this NP completeness and NP hard and NP thing. Okay, and let's see what is NP algorithms and what are NP problems actually. Okay, so P, as we mentioned earlier, P is a set of problems that can be solved in polynomial time. Okay, so I have to highlight this word, that can be solved in polynomial time. Okay, now what is NP? So first of all, the full form of NP is not non-polynomial. Okay, so you can say all these are can be solved in polynomial time and these are non-polynomial. No, the full form of NP is non-deterministic polynomial time. Okay, so NP is a set of all those problems that can be solved in polynomial time, but by a non-deterministic computer. Okay, on deterministic computer we are not talking, we are saying that this can be solved in polynomial time on non-deterministic computer, and therefore these are called non-deterministic polynomial time problems or non-deterministic polynomial time algorithms. Okay, now what the hell is this non-deterministic computer? So let's see. So you can think of a non-deterministic computer as a computer that will actually magically guess a solution, that okay, this is the solution, and it is able to verify the solution that it is correct. Okay, so now here I am talking about two things. First thing I am telling is, this computer will guess a solution and then it will verify that this is the correct solution. Okay, now you can say that how this magic will happen, right? So one way you can imagine is, one way to imagine is, suppose it is a parallel computer and it can freely span infinite number of processes, okay, parallelly. So it can actually, start computing all possible possibilities in the given problem. Okay, so suppose I have to find shortest path in the graph, right? So what this computer will do, it will span infinite process, or infinite means all possible possibilities. It can go through all the paths, through everything in parallel, have one processor work on each possible solution, and then all the processor will actually attempt to verify their solution. And whenever any processor finds that the solution is working, we can stop there and we can say that okay, the problem is solved, right? So if this is the case, so this is a kind of a non-deterministic computer, and if this is the case, then one important thing is, we can say what is NP. Then NP is problems that are verifiable in polynomial time. It cannot be solved. We are not saying that it is solved. We are saying the problems which are verifiable in polynomial time. Okay, so let me just explain you a little more on non-deterministic computer. So the idea here is, non-deterministic computer actually explore all possible cases, right? And then each solution it is solving deterministically and then verifying it. Okay, so the verification process is actually a deterministic thing. Okay, and if one solution is verifiable in polynomial time, and since everything is working in parallel in polynomial time, we can say that okay, we have the solution. Okay, and that's why we said that non-deterministic, or NP, is a set of problems that can be solved in polynomial time by a non-deterministic computer. Okay, now if we try to map this solution in our deterministic computer, then what you have to do, you have to travel all possible paths, and then it will leads to exponential complexity, definitely. Okay, so therefore we will put all such problem into NP class or NP category, where the problem is verifiable in polynomial time. So somebody will give you the problem and the solution of that problem in polynomial time. We can say that this is verified, like this is the solution of this problem, yes or no. So we can verify that solution, that's it. Okay, so there is a subtle difference between solving a problem and verify the problem. Okay, so therefore these are two different things. Okay, so first it has to guess the solution and then has to verify the solution that it is correct. And for all the problems whose solution can be verified in polynomial time are called as NP. All those problems can be put into NP class. Okay, good. So non-deterministic algorithm, to say whether the algorithm is non-deterministic, it is a two-stage procedure. The first one is the guessing stage. Okay, so how to guess? So if suppose somebody will give us algorithm and it will ask that whether this is a non-deterministic algorithm, so what we will do, we will generate arbitrary string and say okay, this could be a candidate solution, right? And when I am saying arbitrary, so arbitrary means arbitrary, right? Okay, and then there is this verification state, and this candidate solution is called certificate, right? Now in the second step we have to verify this certificate, which is called verification state. So this is step, so this is a non-deterministic step, right? Guessing a solution, guessing a candidate solution. Okay, it is a non-deterministic stage. And then if somebody will give me the solution in deterministic time, I can verify it. Okay, so I have to take the certificate and the instance of the problem and just return yes if the certificate presents a solution, or no if it is not, right? So so if I can verify it in polynomial time, then I will say that the algorithm is NP algorithm. Okay, so to understand this, just let me give you a similar analogy. You can think of a problem. For example, let's say you have, so prime factorization problem. Okay, so suppose n is a number, somebody will give you a number n, and what you need to do, you need to find two prime number p and q whose multiplication will actually lead to this n number. Okay, and this as a assignment given to all the students. Okay, so a teacher give this assignment to student. Now what is the job of student have to come up with the solution. Okay, what is p, what is q, they have to work on generating the solution, right? And suppose students somehow come up with the solution, maybe different solution, and they submit the solution, right? Now as a teacher, what is the job of teacher has to verify that solution. Okay, now even if as a teacher I don't know the answer, I can still verify your answer. Why? Because you will give me two prime number p and q, I just have to multiply them, and I just have to check whether the multiplication of these two number is giving n or not. So I can say that your answer is right or your answer is wrong. Okay, so this is the difference between generating a solution and verifying the solution. Okay, so you can see that verifying is very easy. Even if as a teacher I don't know the exact answer, still I can verify whether your answer is right or wrong. Okay, so this is something if you can understand with this example. So generating the solution is actually the guessing state, and verification is a deterministic state, right? So if if you give me a solution and the instance of the problem, and in polynomial time I can verify that this solution is correct for this given instance of the problem, correct or not, whatever. Okay, if I can verify, then we will say that this problem is NP, or non-deterministic polynomial. If you give me non-deterministic machine, I will solve it in the polynomial time. But since I am having a deterministic machine, I can only say that this is a non-deterministic polynomial time problem or algorithm. Okay, so I hope this is clear. When we see more example, it is much more clear in that case, right? Okay, so now let's move on this class NP problems. Okay, so we have already covered class of P problems. So what are those problems? It is a set of problems which can be solved in polynomial time. Here we will say that class NP consists of problem that could be solved by NP algorithms. And what is NP algorithm? Means we can verify it in polynomial time. Okay, so if we have an algorithm which can verify the solution for the problem in polynomial time. Now here we are not talking about solving the problem. Okay, and this is the important thing you have to keep in your mind. Here we are just talking that we have to verify a solution for a given instance of that problem. If we can do this verification in polynomial time, then that problem lies in NP set. Okay, so if we were given a certificate of a solution, we could verify that certificate is correct in time polynomial to the size of input. Okay, so NP does not mean non-polynomial. So student used to make this mistake again and again, that NP means non-polynomial. No, it is non-deterministic polynomial. Okay, and non-deterministic polynomial are all such problems that could be verified in polynomial time. Okay, the solution is where we have the algorithm to verify the solution of that problem in polynomial time. Okay, good. So for example, in this case, we have already seen that finding Hamiltonian cycle or Hamiltonian path is actually a very tough problem, intractable problem. Okay, but let's say if there is a graph, a big graph, okay, not a big graph, but say a graph of say 5 vertex, okay, and somebody will give me this solution, right? So I just have to make a few checks to let you know whether this is a Hamiltonian cycle or not. Okay, what I have to do, I just have to travel each and every edge that you have given me in the solution. Okay, so the graph may have many more edges. We don't know how many edges there are. But suppose if somebody will give me this solution, that ma'am, this is the Hamiltonian cycle, I have find it. So I can verify that your answer is right. How I can verify? I will just travel all the edges that you have proposed in your solution and check that I am not repeating any vertex, plus all the vertex are covered. Okay, then I am done. So in polynomial time I can verify this, right? If you give me this, I can verify that no, this is not a Hamiltonian cycle. Why? Because this vertex is repeating. Okay, so I cannot come back to this. So if I start like this, I cannot come back to this vertex without repeating that. Okay, so this is not a Hamiltonian cycle. This is also easy to check, right? So when in polynomial time I can verify the solution, we call such problem as NP problems. Okay, now here comes a big question: is P equal to NP? Okay, so see, any problem in P is NP. This we know by definition. Okay, why? What is the definition of P? What is the definition of NP? We are saying that any problem whose solution can be verified in polynomial time is NP, right? So if a problem is solved in polynomial time, definitely it is verified in polynomial time, right? So in P class we can actually solve that problem in polynomial time. So definitely we can verify it. So all the problems which are P are by default NP. Okay, so this is something like that. You can visualize this diagram as this. Okay, so P is a subset of NP. This is a known fact. By definition also you can derive to this fact. Okay, now the big open question is whether NP is also a subset of P. Because if this is true, then we can say P equal to NP. Okay, both the sets, like they become one. P equal to NP. Okay, so if A is subset of B, B is subset of A, then it is possible only in one case, when they both are equal, right? So we know this fact. Now the question is whether this is also true. If this is also true, then we can say that P is equal to NP. Okay, so basically what we are trying to say here is, if it is always easy to check a solution, should it also be easy to find a solution? So we are saying, for if for any problem in polynomial time we can check the given solution, and if somebody will prove that if you can check the solution in polynomial time, you can solve it also in polynomial time, then definitely this particular thing will true. Okay, but there is no such proof, and most of the computer scientists believe that this is false. But still there is no proof that they are equal, there is no proof that they are not equal. Okay, and therefore this is an open question. Okay, now okay, so till now we have covered two categories, right? We have covered class P and we have covered NP. Okay, and as per the known fact, we only know that P is a subset of NP. That's it, right? Okay, now there is this another category which is called which is known as NP completeness. Okay, now what is this NP complete? So NP complete are defined as hardest problem in NP. So there are many problems which are in this NP set. Okay, and among all these problems, the problem which are very hard, the hardest problem, we will put it into NP complete category. Okay, so this is just an informal definition. Formally we will define, right? So practically most of the problems turn out to be either lie into this set, either they lie in the P set, or they lie in the NP complete set, right, in general. Okay, so now let's see what are NP complete problems. Okay, now to see NP complete problems, you need to know one more term, that is reduction. Okay, so let me just formalize this reduction technique. What is reduction? Reduction is a way of saying that one problem is easier than other. Okay, what does this mean? We are saying that, so suppose problem A is easier than B. Problem A is easier than problem B. right? That is, we can write it like this first of all. Okay, so A is easier than B, or A is reducible to B. Okay, what does this mean? If we can solve A using the algorithm that solves B. Okay, so the idea here is, what we are saying actually, suppose we know the algorithm how to solve B. Suppose we know this algorithm. If I am reducing problem A into problem B, if A is reducible to B, means what I am saying that, okay, suppose this is problem A and the input to this problem is alpha. This is problem B and the input to this problem is, say, beta. Okay, I will apply some function f which will convert input of A into input of beta. Okay, so the input of problem A is transformed into input of problem B. And since I know how to solve this problem, once I solve this problem, if the output of this problem is yes, then the output of my A problem is also yes. If the output of this problem is no, then the output of my A problem is also yes. Okay, so just see this box once again. So this gray box is actually problem A. Okay, this gray box is problem A, and what we are saying, that if you want to solve problem A, okay, just give me the input of problem A. I will internally convert this A into alpha into beta, which is the input of problem B. And if I am able to solve problem B, then definitely I can come up with the solution of problem A. And that is why problem A is easier than problem B. This is what we are saying. Okay, if you know the algorithm to solve problem B, you can solve problem A also. If you don't know how to solve problem B, you cannot solve problem A also. This is what this means. Okay, so we are saying that A is easier problem than B. If you can solve B, then definitely you can solve A. Right? If this is solvable, then definitely A is solvable, because the answer of this is yes, we will say problem A answer is also yes. If the answer is no, we will say that the solution of problem A is also no. Okay, and why we can able to do this? Because of this function. We have actually reduced our problem to some other problem. Okay, so let's see some examples. Okay, so as an example, you can say that, okay, P is a problem. So given a set of booleans, is at least one true. Okay, so problem P is, we are given this some set of boolean variables, say. Okay, and we are saying that the problem is, we have to tell that at least one of them is true. If at least one of them is true, the output is yes, otherwise the output is no. Okay, now there is one other problem which will say that given a set of integer, is there some positive? Now y1 to yn is a set of integers, and we just have to add them up and say whether the sum is positive or not. Okay, now how can we reduce, how can we convert one problem into other? So we will say that, okay, let's say yi is true, yi is 1 if xi is true, and yi is 0 if xi is false. Okay, so somebody will give us a set of boolean variables, say some true, false, false, something like that, right? We can convert it into a problem of sum of integers. Okay, and if we are able to solve, so we actually, suppose we know that how to solve this sum of positive integers, right? So if the sum is positive, means there is at least one in the sequence. Okay, so we actually convert it into 1 0 1 1 0 0, like this. Okay, and then we will solve this problem, and if the answer is greater than 0, if we get the sum positive, okay, greater than 0, then we will say yes. And for this also we can say yes, there exists a variable with at least one variable whose value is true. Okay, so in this way we can reduce one problem into another problem, and if the first the if that problem is solved, the second problem is inherently solved. Okay, similarly, like another example, a real life example could be solving a linear equation can be reducible to solving a quadratic equation. Okay, so linear equation is maybe of the form ax plus b equal to 0. Okay, and quadratic equation could be ax square plus bx plus c equal to 0. Okay, now if you are having a quadratic equation solver, if you have such solver, then what you can do, you can convert this equation into quadratic equation. What you can do, you can just put a coefficient 0, x square plus ax plus b. Okay, and you can give this as an input to what is this? This is actually a linear equation, right? Because the coefficient of x square is 0. Right? So it can be solved by quadratic equation solver. Okay, so linear equation is reducible to quadratic equation. Okay, so why they are reducible? Because we are saying that solving linear equation is easier than solving quadratic equation, because if quadratic equation can be solved, then I can easily solve the linear equation by modifying or transforming my problem into quadratic equation. Right, so this is what reducibility is. Now there is one important term which is called polynomial reduction. Okay, so reduction is clear. Now what is this polynomial reduction? If we are given two problems A and B, we say that A is polynomially reducible to B if there exists a function f that can convert the input of A into input of B in polynomial time. Okay, so let's once again go to this box. Okay, what is polynomial time reducer problem? If we can come up with this function, and this function can transform this alpha into beta in polynomial time, right, then we can say that A is polynomially reducible to B. Okay, so once again let me repeat, if there exists a function f that can convert the input of A into input of B in polynomial time, okay, then we can say that A is polynomially reducible to B, right? So if A of I is yes, means we have algorithm for B, we will call this function f of I. Okay, so this is some instance of input I for A. We will call this function, give the instance, it will convert it into the form which can be inputted to algorithm B. Okay, so if this is yes, then the output of A is also yes for this instance. Okay, and this is called polynomial reduction. And polynomial reducible is quite important thing, because now it will help us to formally define NP completeness. Okay, so just a quick revision, we have covered two categories till now. Class P, all the problems which is having a polynomial time algorithm to solve. We are having an algorithm that can solve the problem in polynomial time. All those problems lie in class P. Then we have the second class, which is NP class, and we said that if there exists an algorithm which can verify the solution for the given problem in polynomial time, okay, which can verify the solution only, then we will say that the problem is NP problem. Now what is NP complete? A problem is NP complete. So a problem B, let's say a problem B is NP complete if B belongs to NP, means we can verify the solution for B in polynomial time, and A is polynomially reducible to B for all A belongs to NP, means all the NP problems can be polynomially reducible to problem B. Right, all the NP problems we are talking about, if you can reduce all the NP problems to B, and B is also NP, okay, B belongs to NP, then we can say that then that problem B is NP complete. Then we can say that problem B is NP complete. Okay, so you can just see this diagram. Suppose there are many problems which lies here, anywhere, right? And all these problems are reducible, polynomially reducible. Okay, reduction should not take much time. Polynomial reduction is possible. If in polynomial time we can reduce all these problem to B, then what we are saying, that if B is solved, then definitely all the other problem can be solved. This is what we are saying, right? This is what we are saying. Okay, so let me just come to this slide and then I will explain. Okay, but for now take my words. There are two conditions for NP complete. First condition is we can call any algorithm or any problem as NP complete if that problem is NP. We already know what NP is. And also if we can reduce all the problems which are there in NP. Okay, all such problems are reducible to B in polynomial time, then we say that B is NP complete, right? So if B satisfy both of this, then it is NP complete. If B satisfy only this, okay, we don't know whether B is NP or not, but we know that all the NP problems can be polynomially reducible to B, then we say B is NP hard. Okay, no polynomial time algorithm has been discovered for an NP complete problem. There is no algorithm which can solve NP complete problem in polynomial time. Okay, no one has ever proved that there is no polynomial time algorithm that exists for any NP complete problem, right? So the beauty here is, if one NP complete problem is solved, suppose, okay, someone in the world if come up with a solution of one problem which lies in NP complete set and they can solve that particular problem, then all the rest of the problems can be solved in polynomial time. Why? Because all the problems can be reducible to problem B in polynomial time. Okay, so we can reduce all those problem into B, and then we have the algorithm to solve B. So the beauty is, if any one problem in this set, NP complete set, is solved, then everything will be merged. Okay, so this become like this. There is only one circle, P is equal to NP is equal to NP complete. Everything will be merged. Okay, and this is a big question, and the Clay Institute is having $1 million prize if somebody will come up with the solution of a problem which is NP complete. Okay, so it is quite interesting. Okay, now the implication of this reduction is, so now let me again come up to this particular diagram, and this is quite an important diagram. Okay, we can imply many things from this diagram. Now see, this big box, this box is of problem A, right? And the small box is of problem B. Now we are saying, if we can solve problem B, we can solve problem A also. Why? Because problem A is polynomially reducible to B. We have a polynomial time algorithm which can reduce problem A to problem B, right? And if problem B belongs to P set, means we have the polynomial time solution for this algorithm, then definitely A will also belongs to P set. Why? Because we are having polynomial time solution for A also.